Section 13.2, major triads. So we have 4 different types of triads to learn: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. And we're going to start with the most popular, which is the major triad. So to construct a major triad, what you do is you select the first, third, and fifth notes of a major scale. So for example, if you wanted to build an A-flat major triad, you need to think of the A-flat major scale and then simply pick out the first, third, and fifth notes of the scale. So we have it illustrated here. Here is our A-flat major scale, 4 flats in the key signature, B-flat, E-flat, A-flat, and D-flat. And we select this first note, which is, unsurprisingly, A-flat. Then this third note of the scale, which is regular C. There's no C-flat in the key signature. And then this fifth note of the scale, which is, because of the key signature, it is an E-flat. So we think about the scale, we think about the key signature, but when we write out the chord, we write it as follows. You just write out your A-flat, stack your thirds on top, and then you put the flat in front of the E. So you're not writing out a key signature, you're just writing the flats in front of the individual notes. So let's do a bunch of examples on the next page. They'll start off relatively easily, and then we'll go through some more difficult ones. So first one, C major triad. What we're going to do is to start with our note C, then we're going to stack thirds on top of it, just like we did at the beginning of the chapter. And now we need to think about our C major scale. So what are the notes of the C major scale? Well, C major, you know, has no sharps or flats. So we're going to write out our letters just to illustrate. And what we need to think of is the first, third, and fifth notes of the scale. So as it turns out, we have just a regular C, a regular E, and a regular G. That's exactly what we already have here. So this one checks out. That is our C major triad. Let's go on to the next one, F major. So we're going to begin by writing out an F, then stack your thirds on top of it. And now we need to think about the F major scale. So F major's key signature is 1 flat, which is B flat. So that means our scale is going to be F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and F. So we need to think about the first, third, and fifth notes of the scale. So it's just regular F, regular A, regular C. And that's exactly what we have here. So everything checks out again. F major triad is F, A, and C. Now, a slightly more difficult one here, D major. Let's begin by writing a D, and then we'll stack thirds on top of it. So we're going to think about the D major scale now. D major, you'll remember, has 2 sharps in it. It has F sharp and C sharp in the key signature. So that means the scale from first note to last is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So we're thinking about the first, third, and fifth notes of this major scale. So the first note, of course, is just regular D, but the third note is F sharp. That means we have to put a sharp in front of the F in our chord. We want what we have in our chord to match what's in the scale. Then the fifth note of the scale is a regular A, so we can leave it as is. So frequently enough, you'll have to alter one of the top 2 notes of the chord in order for the chord to match the scale. So here's our D major chord, D, F sharp, and A. Now, another slightly tricky one, E flat major triad. So definitely begin by writing in the E flat. The flat is part of the note's identity, so don't forget that. Then stack your thirds on top of it, and now think of the E flat major scale. So I'll give us some real estate up here to work with. Our E flat major scale, we know that the key signature has 3 flats, right? B flat, E flat, and A flat. And for our E flat major scale, therefore, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and E flat. That's our complete E flat major scale. So what notes do we have? We have E flat as the first note. We've already got that. We have a regular G as the third note, so that's okay. But as our fifth note, we have a B flat. So we therefore need to put a flat in front of that B in our chord. Now everything matches. Let's do the last one, and we're going to challenge ourselves with this one by not writing out the scale. So C sharp major triad. Let's build it up here. You can build it wherever you like as long as it begins on a C sharp. Stack your thirds. And now we think about the C sharp major scale. In other words, we're trying to decide, is it just an E and a G on top, or do they need to be sharps, or do they need to be flats, or just one is a sharp and the other is a flat, whatever it might be. Well, thinking of the C sharp major key signature, we have all 7 sharps, right? And therefore, the C sharp major scale has everything sharped. So C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and so on. So that means that our other two notes of this chord also have to have sharps in front of them. So our C sharp, E sharp, and G sharp, those three notes together comprise a C sharp major triad. Now I give you this sentence here. It is indeed very important to know your major triads by heart. So know that your B flat major triad is B flat, D, and F, and your G flat major triad is G flat, B flat, and D flat, and your A major triad is A, C sharp, and E. Now, on your way to memorizing all of those, you might want to complete this exercise just to give you practice with these triads. So for each one of these, you'll notice a couple of things. One is you're going to be thinking of the major scale, just like we did in the previous section, or in that last example. But you'll also notice a pattern with the letters. Since triads are always a series of stacked thirds, they're always going to be like line, 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 or space, space, space in terms of where the notes appear on the staff, you're always going to get these patterns of letters like ACE, BDF, CEG, DFA, and so on, where it's like you pick every other letter from a 5-letter sequence. So you'll see what I mean as we do these examples. Let's start off maybe in the middle column so you can have the first column to work on your own. D major triad. Well, key signature for D major is 2 sharps. So D is our first note. D, E, F sharp is going to be our third of the chord. And then to G to A, that gives us our D major triad. So I'm thinking again of the first, the third, and the fifth notes of the D major scale. F major triad. F is going to be the first note, skip a letter, go to A, that's going to be the third. We know that F major has a B flat in it, but nothing else, so we wind up with C. Next one, we get practice with G major. So G major, it has 1 sharp in it, which is just F sharp, so that means G, skip a letter up to B, skip a letter up to D. And now to contrast with G major, we're going to do G flat major. G flat major has 6 flats, right? B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat. So everything is flat except for F. So that means our first note is G flat. Then we would have A flat as the second note. B flat would be the third note, then C flat, then D flat would be the fifth note of that scale. So notice these patterns, right? GBD, GBD, FAC, DFA, if I'm ignoring for the moment the accidentals. You'll have these patterns of letters recur when you're constructing your triads. So I encourage you to work on the rest of these exercises, but also think about your scales, practice your scales at the piano, and also practice playing all of these chords at the piano. When you're playing them with your right hand, you can use fingers 5, 3, and 1. So pinky is going to be on the 5th, your middle finger is going to be on the 3rd of the chord, and your thumb is going to be on the root of the chord.